Welcome to Conversations with Asha and Steve, where communication matters. Join us as we discuss effective ways to communicate, bridge the gaps, and build long-lasting relationships within your business and life. Here are your hosts, Asha Prasad and Steve Harper.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Conversations with Asha and Steve. I am Steve Harper, and with me is Dr. Asha Prasad, the star of the show. Asha, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Steve. You are the star.
No.
You're the superstar.
We'll both be stars. That's what we'll be,
We'll
right?
both be superstars.
Well, I'm kind of excited about this episode because we started, this new series, right? That we're talking about
Right.
the banana peels of potential, slip ups that you might experience as an entrepreneur or a business owner. And we started the series talking about how to avoid making bad hires. But today we want to talk about, well, you made the bad hire. You didn't listen to or follow our advice in the last episode. So what are you going to do now that you've got this problem and it's before you? You no longer can deal with it. So how are you going to handle it? So you've been in this situation before, right? It's a tough one.
It's a tough one several times, and it's a tough one. And the first thing that I will say about it, you want to make sure that you know the laws and rules, regulations of wherever you are, whatever state. Because, like, for example, in the country that I'm in right now, rules and laws are so different. You can't get rid of people so easily. So if you've made a bad hire, you're stuck with them for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it could really cost you a lot. So first and foremost, you want to know that as an entrepreneur, but these are some of the most difficult conversations that you can have because, it's not always easy. And especially in our economic climate now, we don't want people to be out of a job. We don't want people to be, suffering in that way at any in any time frame, not just now.
Yeah.
But it can be a very, very difficult conversation. I mean, Steve, you've dealt with it a couple of times, I think, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. There is frustration abounds. It's not a comfortable situation in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
There's a couple of philosophies that I've sort of learned, I think, through age and experience that, pulling the Band-Aid off quick is probably the best way. Nobody's ever happy about having to part company. You're certainly not good about upending or potentially causing conflict for somebody's livelihood because, they depend on that paycheck and
Exactly.
That's never comfortable. But if you've actually set the groundwork and you've had good communication and, you've documented what's not working and given every possible opportunity to correct the behavior, correct the work,
Exactly.
correct the, attendance policy, whatever the issues might be, and they're still continuing to be a problem, you really have to ask yourself, are we going to be better off? Even though maybe in the short term we're missing, a person and that gap is going to hurt us a little bit, or maybe, we're all going to have to pick up a little bit of the slack until we can find that next person. Are we going to be better off by doing it now, right now, versus continuing to delay and the potential collateral damage that it might, have, not only to your coworkers and the other people that have to interact with this person, but also potentially impacting your prospective customers and your customers, depending on the type of role this person might be. And that's a tough thing, right? Because at the end of the day, you never want to really place the blame on anybody specifically, but really at the end of the day, it's just like, I utilize, soccer as kind of my example is everybody has a role and a position to play. Everybody has to know that role in that position, and you have to step up and know, when the time comes to execute, what the expectations are, and what you need to do in order to continue to contribute to the overall team's performance.
Right.
But if you don't practice and you don't do what you are needed to do, the team is only as good as the weakest link, and that piece. To a business owner, an entrepreneur, unfortunately, those are the things that just can't be tolerated. And I think that at the end of the day, you also, as a business owner, right, as an entrepreneur, you have to just realize you're just going to have to take the hickey right then and there, and make the move,
Yeah.
make the change. And that's tough, right? So,
Right.
that's hard. I know you've gone through that process before. It's not comfortable. Nobody likes delivering bad news, especially now, right? In the
No.
holidays, as
No.
we're, coming into the holidays and whatnot. But is the business going to be better off because this person doesn't show up tomorrow or not?
Exactly. I mean, I think one of the things is that once you know that you have hired somebody that is not, you have to act quickly,
Yep.
because the longer it festers, the longer that they're there, it impacts in such a negative way throughout the business.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that just it's I believe that once you know that, you have to act immediately,
Yeah.
um and figure out a way that that person doesn't need to be in the environment as quickly as possible. You know what I mean? I just really think, and I know it can be hard sometimes because it can leave this huge gap, unfinished business and everything, but you don't want somebody continuing representing your company that is not a good fit, and for whatever reason it is. It may be their capabilities, it may be their attitude, it may be a lot of different things that they haven't done. Nothing is going to change by extending them another 2 or 3 weeks just until you find somebody else. It's going to actually hurt your business
Yeah.
and hurt it has a potential, right, to hurt
Yeah.
relationships
Well,
with.
yeah, and like you
Yeah.
said, I mean, there is that effect to the rest of the team when you continue to give chance
Yeah.
after chance after chance, and they continue to get a paycheck. People start to develop that resentment, which is, you may not be
Exactly.
getting the best of those people. They may be like, you're never going to pull the trigger, so I'm going to start looking
Yep.
for something else. And you can, one bad apple can definitely spoil the bunch.
Yes.
I have learned, two problems that I have when I fire people, and that I've had to clean up and fix.
Hmm.
One, I'm way more forgiving, and so I try to give people too
Yeah.
many chances, and I've done that, and
Yeah.
it's cost me, exactly like you said. And so I've had to overcome that. And so I've gotten better at documenting and tracking, sitting down, having a
Right.
conversation. Here's what's working, here's what's not, here's the opportunity to fix it. The ball is in your court to resolve this.
Right.
I'm here to help you and support you, because a good leader is there to try and bring the best out of people. But then some people just don't care, right? They just,
Exactly.
this is who you hired, this is what you got, right? And so,
Yeah.
okay, yep, my bad. But then when I sit down with that person, I'm always super empathetic about the situation. And so
Right.
early on in my career, I talked way too much about, hey, look,
Hmm.
this is our fault. This is, we should have done a better job
Right.
vetting this job and role to make sure you were a good fit, or we should have done better training. And all those things were probably true and accurate. However, what I've learned now as a more seasoned business owner is none of that matters. Really
No.
going back and saying what could have, should have.
Right.
As my friend Donna Carlin says, you could have, should have yourself to death, on
Exactly. No, but it's true.
what doesn't work or what doesn't seem to
Yes.
align. And it doesn't matter, right? At the end
Yeah.
of the day, the reality is this person does not need to be here. And so the quickest and easiest way to, to make that happen is to just say, Asha, I just want to sit down with you. I want to say thank you for everything you've done here, but today
Hmm.
is going to be your last day. So we're going
Yeah.
to move on. Here's the paperwork. Here's how we're doing it. Here's what the
Yeah.
process is. And don't even get into a conversation or dialogue. And really, honestly, if you've outlined all of the expectations and they're still not being met, this is no surprise to the employee, right? It's
No.
not something that you're catching them completely off guard, but you've just got to do it quick, and just be in
Really
and
do.
out. And you may certainly not be well thought of in the moment, and that's happened to me several times. But I've had people
Absolutely.
that I've had to fire that, actually come back years later and thank me for it, because it opened up other opportunities. They're like,
Right.
I was really going down a role to be a salesperson, and
Exactly.
I wasn't good at sales. And I that's the only way I could see myself making a living. And now I'm off
Yeah.
doing a different career path. And that thrills me. Not everybody comes back and has positive things to say about me after I've done it.
No.
You're not going to win a popularity contest after you fire somebody in most cases.
No. No, but you know what? One thing I do want to say, Steve, is it's one of the things. It's been very interesting that I have realized, because some of the people over the years, and this has been more so since I came here to Europe. Um, I choose to work with people on a contract basis too, where this to me,
Mm.
this is just an option. Okay, this is just an option. This doesn't have to be this way. If you're not ready, or if you've been burned too many times or whatever, and I've done it for different reasons because it just kind of happened presented that way, of working with people on a contract basis where they're not a direct employee, where they basically are their own solo
Yeah.
entrepreneur. Um, I tend to like that a
Yeah.
lot better. I have to tell you, over the
Yeah.
years, I really do. I tend to like that a lot better because they have an interest of, upkeeping their business. They have their own little small business. They
Yeah.
are contract. And you can come to different agreements that whenever that doesn't work, it just doesn't work anymore. And you can move on from it. You know what I mean? You can move on from it. Now, you still have to have some difficult conversations along the way, but it is an option that I just want to mention because, because like I was saying before, the rules and regulations here, once you put somebody in service, it is very difficult, very, very difficult to get rid of them. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I've hired somebody and it's a bad hire and they're not a good fit, and maybe they're just there for the paycheck, and I have to sit with them for 6 more months or a year or whatever, that is really detrimental to your business. And so,
It is.
so it's interesting. A couple of years ago, about 5 years ago, I shifted to working with some people, and especially with my online business, with my coaching and that kind of thing. I work with people on a contract basis because of that, and it works beautifully.
Yep.
Now, you can't always do that in your brick and mortar businesses, but it is an option out there that I think more and more people are leaning towards because of this, because
Yeah.
of the kinds of consequences that happen.
Absolutely. There's a whole different set of things that you have to deal with when you're dealing with a
Yeah,
contractor to avoid being and treating them like an employee, because that can get you afoul of your
exactly.
local government as well. And that's tough.
Exactly.
But
That is
at
tough.
the end of the day, it's a little easier and cleaner to say, look, we're not going to continue the contract, or we're
Exactly.
going a different direction. I'm about to go through one of those conversations with a longtime vendor of ours that has just become
Right.
complacent, and
Yes.
they make a lot of money off of us, but they're really not adding quite the value that they once did, and so it's time for us to make a
Exactly.
change. And the I agree with you. If you can somehow through your business model leverage that
Hmm.
in that kind of contract capacity, I think that's the way to go. There's certainly a lot of people out there that are hungry trying to grow their solopreneur business
Right.
that specialize, whether it be website design or
Yeah.
marketing or branding, or helping you in all variations of services, bookkeeping, helping you with your financials, all that good stuff.
Right.
So I highly agree with that. But I do think that at the end of the day, when you do and have brought on a person, you do have an obligation to do your best to
Absolutely.
ensure that they
Yeah.
have every possible chance to be successful. And if it didn't work out, rest assured, you as a business owner may be able to say, "Hey, it's all that person. It's that character. It's their
Right.
work ethic. It's their lack of caring, and whatever it is." But it is your fault, and you will
Right.
carry every single fire with you for the
Exactly.
rest of your life. You'll get better at
It's
it.
so true.
I have a good friend right now who is, unfortunately, our economy is a little bit in a challenging situation right now, and the housing market was blowing up, and now it's like really
Mhm.
dropping off. And they were in a hyper hiring for 3 years, and now he's had to come
Um,
back, and now the business is slowed to the point that they have to get out ahead of that, and they need to start laying people off right here before the
Right.
holidays, and it just crushes him. But that's what
Absolutely.
you that's the job you're signing up for. You get
It's
you
the
get all the
job.
glory, and you get all the crap that goes with
Exactly.
that
Yeah, no,
sometimes.
exactly. I mean, it is part of it, and it's not it's one of the less glamorous parts of being an entrepreneur.
Seriously, less
It's
glamorous part.
seriously less glamorous. I mean, but it is part of it, and, you will get better at it,
Yep,
but, it goes back to one thing, and one thing really that I see important is your communication skills, and I love the
absolutely.
fact, Steve, that you really said that about documentation, because you've got to document and you've got to be communicating
Yep.
exactly what's expected and documenting exactly what's going on. So that way that helps you, and it shouldn't be a surprise to somebody if you've
No,
been communicating regularly. Really shouldn't be.
Yeah. It's tough. And maybe we'll come back and revisit this at some point, but
Right.
it's definitely a banana peel that you don't anticipate, and you got to
No.
do it right. So one of the things that I would just, illustrate here at the very end of the episode is understand through your local government institution that
Right.
supports both you
Mhm.
as an employer and the employees is what you can do and what you can't do, what
Exactly.
they recommend in terms of the process and the approach. And make sure you tick all those boxes because that's important for
Yes.
you to protect yourself. There are a lot of lawsuits that get filed because people do a
Yes.
poor job when it comes to this very untenable duty. And so you want to make sure you do it right. And that's an important aspect, I think, that a lot of people don't think about. It's like, well, hey, it didn't work out. Now I'm firing. I've got
Yeah.
a coaching client currently that goes through people like it's water. And it finally caught up to them this year because they've had a few people that have sued them for wrongful termination. And he's,
Yeah.
I can't
Yes.
believe that. It's like, well, I mean, where's the documentation? Where's the data?
Exactly.
And you get enough of those, you really need to start looking at your process, your approach, and
Right.
ask yourself, am I putting in the right amount of effort to find the right people? Because,
Yes.
people aren't a commodity, and that's a hard thing for business owners to realize as well. You're
I
messing with
know.
people's lives, and some people will be very unhappy when you mess with that life because they depend on that paycheck.
Exactly, because they depend on it, and you know what? And here's the thing, I mean, it's just like any breakup, right? There're gonna be hard feelings. It's we're human beings, right? We
Yep.
have the hard feelings, but on both sides. People are gonna say things. You're gonna have to develop a
Yeah.
thicker skin. That's really a tough one because people will say things and people will trash talk you and everything.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you know what? As long as you know in your heart of hearts that you have shown up and you have done everything that you possibly can with as much respect and compassion and empathy, then you have nothing to hang your head down about. I mean, you will do anything. I mean, that's what we are as entrepreneurs. We will do things above and beyond
Yeah.
what most people will do. I mean, that's what it is. And just know that, as long as you're doing that with good intentions, I'm not going to say it's going to be perfect and it's going to be fun, but,
I wish you would. I wish you would say it would be,
God,
and then
I know, I
I could
wish
have
it would
some
be.
hope.
I know, I know. Exactly. I mean, you know what, Steve, I can remember early on, I sometimes would even go to the extent, I did this with a few people, which they did thank me for, that I would try to find them a suitable job. Like I would
Yeah.
junk in my network and I would like present that to them at the firing conversation.
I've done
Like,
that
hey,
several
you know what?
times. Yeah.
And you know what? And I think if that's something that feels good for you to do it.
Yeah.
It definitely is something that you can definitely offer to people. But
Absolutely. I think, based on who the employee is, and, sometimes, people just aren't a fit. Right. And I've had several of those. I had one individual that really helped us with our software company early on that, just an amazing guy. But,
right,
I pulled the trigger a little too early trying to help him in an,
right,
sort of, not a great personal situation that he found himself in right at the holidays. And
right.
so I kind of did a knee jerk reaction to hire, but we did our best and we tried to, get him, up to a level that was going to be profitable for the business and moving in the direction we needed it to go, but it just
Exactly.
didn't get there. And so
Yeah.
before I decided, everything was documented and tracked, but I had gone next door to an organization that I knew he would be a good fit for. And I talked to that CEO and
Yes.
said, look, this, this role that we hired him for just isn't going to work out. If I had a different
Right.
role, we wouldn't even have this conversation, but I don't. We're small, we're bootstrapped, et cetera. But you
Right.
would be crazy not to bring this guy over for an interview. So
Right.
here's how it's going to work. I'm going to let him go. And
I'm
then
gonna
I'm
let him
going to
go.
suggest he comes over. He got hired
Exactly.
within 2 hours of being laid off,
That's
or
awesome.
fired, and
Yeah.
it worked out perfect. And to this day, still, appreciates the fact that I went to the, that extra level, right, to help
Yeah.
him. Because it's, people say this thing in business that really drives me nuts. People say, well, it's not personal, it's just business. Well, that's because you're an a-hole and
Exactly.
it's
I'm like, what?
it's not personal to you, but it's sure as hell personal to the person on the other end, right?
Exactly.
And
It is
so if you can
personal.
let that down as easy as possible
Yeah.
and you can make it a softer landing, giving them
Exactly.
runway with a good, some sort of good exit package, or you can help them find that next role, then
Right.
you will definitely gain a better standing in that person's mind. It still may not be
Absolutely.
comfortable and may not be great,
Right.
but at the end of the day, it's better than nothing.
No, exactly. I mean, you know what, Steve? There's nothing wrong with helping people. And just because some things don't work out, whatever that working relationship is, it doesn't mean that the relationship needs to be broken. Or, I've realized this with friends, for example.
Yeah.
I'm very, very hesitant with that because, it's like, okay, is this worth our friendship? Because if we
Yeah.
don't handle this correctly, it could go bad. Like,
It will go bad.
what are
Yeah.
we going
It
to do?
always goes bad. Yeah.
A lot of times it does,
Yeah.
unfortunately. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very, very seldomly that you get, people that are going to be upfront and honest and just 100% committed to that clear communication. But you know what? You learn, you live and you learn,
You
right?
do. Yeah, absolutely. Well, making sure that you don't make the bad hire definitely go back and check out
Yeah,
that episode because we give some great tips in there. But then once you've made the bad hire, avoid the banana peel if you can, and do your best to not slip, or at least not slip up too much when you do it.
exactly.
And just kind of make it as quick and as painless as it possibly can be for the
Yeah,
other person and for yourself, right? It just
yeah,
doesn't have to be this,
exactly.
elongated conversation if you've already set the groundwork. I personally appreciate the fact that Asha gave me a written notice on corrective action that I needed to take to produce this show. So I have actually some time left, in order to be able to, maybe stay here. I haven't gotten a paycheck ever, but,
Me
but,
either.
but,
What's up?
but man, when she cracks the whip, I definitely know what my expectations are. So it's good. Hopefully I'm moving in the right direction, and my next employee evaluation will be more improved. Well,
Oh,
Asha, how does everybody, kind of learn more about, we've got a whole library of great episodes that we
we
actually
do.
encourage people to go back to. And, we've had some amazing conversations about a wide variety of topics, but for the next several episodes, we're going to be talking about the banana peels of entrepreneurship. And this is a
Right.
series that I'm pretty excited about because I think these are serious and important practical things that you want to avoid as a business leader and entrepreneur. And but Asha, how can people tell us some of the banana peel
Mhm.
issues that they have experienced or want us to address, and or get involved in just the conversation?
So definitely you can go to our website, conversationswithashansteve.com, but also you can reach out to us on social media, Facebook or Instagram, and head over to our YouTube channel. Subscribe there. You'll get alerted for all of our upcoming episodes. We've got a whole library, like Steve was saying, we've got a whole library of all of these, really good nuggets for people that are entrepreneurs or maybe thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, to really help them. So reach out to us, drop a comment. If you're listening to us on our podcast, you can definitely head over to our social media and reach out to us there. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate wherever you're tuning in or wherever you're watching us. We greatly appreciate it. We do these shows for you, and we've definitely gotten some awesome feedback from our audience that these topics resonate. So we'll continue to bring them to you. And I just look forward to these conversations with you, Asha, because I learned so much and appreciate the opportunity to have these conversations. And we'll be back again with another new episode very, very soon.
Sounds great, Steve. Thank you so much. I learned from you as well. Gosh, when I think about over the years how much I've learned from just
What not to
interacting
do?
with you,
That was in parentheses. What not to
no,
do?
no, no, no. Know a lot of what to do.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. The feeling is mutual as well. Well, I know you having just come back from a major trip, you're probably due for a nap. So go
I
have
think
a
it's that time.
fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Till next time, Steve.
Till next time. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Conversations with Asha and Steve. We love to hear feedback and questions from our listeners. Please feel free to visit our Facebook page for more tips and information. You can also email us directly at info@ripplecentral.com for more information.